Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thanks for checking out my video. So to continue with some more musical examples and how we can apply some of those scales we've looked at in the other videos. Today I'm going to go through some more simple Guitar Hero licks, this time in the style of Peter Green. So Peter Green is definitely another big influence on my playing. I'd never really listened to him much until I discovered the John Mayall album, A Hard Road, which is the album following the famous Beano album, if you know that. I'd been recommended Fleetwood Mac by quite a lot of people, but oh man, like, I hate Fleetwood Mac. Hey, all this rumour stuff, yeah, it's not for me. Little did I know that before Fleetwood Mac became this pile of pop, they were actually a pretty decent little blues band, and Peter Green was the one leading the way. In fact, I'm pretty sure the only reason Fleetwood Mac actually became what they did is because Peter Green left. So anyway, that's how I found out about Fleetwood Mac. Anyway, B.B. King once said of Peter Green, he has the sweetest tone I have ever heard. He was the only one who gave me the cold sweats. Green's playing really represents everything that is so great about the blues. Just like B.B. King, he plays with a lot of feeling. He doesn't play super fast. He doesn't use crazy scales. He simply plays melodic notes and lines that create very striking emotion, implying the true melancholy feeling of the blues and pulling on our heartstrings in ways we never imagined. Anyway, if you haven't listened to much of Peter Green before, I would definitely recommend him. Listening and studying his playing will definitely give you some insight into adding more melody and more emotion in your own playing. There's definitely a good selection of Peter Green recordings out there, but if you're after a few recommendations, I would say that John Mayall album, A Hard Road, I think it's from 1967. That's really, really good. The first three Fleetwood Mac albums, which is a self-titled album, Mr. Wonderful, and The Pious Bird of Good Omen. Yeah, really good albums there. You could also try the next one, which is called Then Play On. By the next album, I don't really know what happened there. I think maybe Peter Green had left by that point and the band carried on, but the style really sort of changed and the album's not really like the others. Another great thing about these early Fleetwood Mac albums is a guy called Jeremy Spencer, who is the second guitarist, and he plays a pretty mean open E slide guitar in a lot of the songs. So if you're also looking to improve your slide playing, definitely give those a listen. Anyway, those first three Fleetwood Mac albums are like absolute masterpieces, I think. Green's solos and vocals, Spencer's slide, it's amazing. Definitely better than everything that followed after that. So how can we get Peter Green's sound? Well, Green wasn't really one for using effects, and from what I know, he was probably usually just going straight into his amplifier. But there is one defining character in Green's guitar that made his tone unique. So Peter Green used a 1959 Gibson Les Paul with a rather peculiar setup, which no one really fully understood until quite a while later. After leaving Fleetwood Mac, Green sold his guitar to a guy called Gary Moore, who some of you might know, who's a guitarist in a band called Thin Lizzy. And in the 80s, Moore took the guitar to one of his friends, and they both decided to take it all apart to see if they could find out what the answer to this magical tone was. When they opened it up, they actually found everything appeared normal and nothing had been changed or nothing had been modified at all. Because a lot of people thought Peter Green had done something inside the guitar. But then they actually measured the magnetic polarity of the pickups, and they discovered that they were actually magnetically out of phase, and that is actually the secret to Peter Green's tone right there. The guitar was essentially a factory defect. The pickups mistakenly assembled almost back to front by Gibson themselves. When pickups are wired out of phase like this, they usually produce a sound that is typically a bit thinner and maybe a bit more hollow. When selecting both the pickups together, you'd get a really unique sound that sounds almost like scooped, and it'd be more similar to the sound we get from single coils. So if you want to get Green's tone, the first thing is obviously get yourself a Les Paul or a similar style of guitar with humbuckers. Your next step, if you want to go the full distance, is either remove the pickups, rewire them yourself, or get someone knowledgeable to do it. Or you can actually buy a custom set of pre-reverse wired humbuckers these days. Yeah, they do exist now. In terms of amplifiers, as far as I know, I think Green was known for using Marshall amplifiers, especially in those early like John Mayall days. And then when the Orange amp company or Orange Music started in London in I think around '68, Green became one of the first ambassadors for them. So he was using Oranges quite a lot. Again, a lot of Green's tone would have come from maxing out or really cranking his amp to high levels. So if you want to get close to his sort of sound, maybe try a lower power model, something like a Tiny Terror or a Dual Terror, 15-30 watts, and then you'll be able to turn it up. Unless you have easygoing neighbours, or you live out on a farm somewhere, middle of nowhere, get the stack. That's what I'd do. Pedals, like I said, I don't think Green was really too into pedals, especially in those early Fleetwood Mac days and the John Mayall days, and was mainly probably just using his volume knob to adjust between rhythm and lead volumes, and change settings directly on his amplifier to get some different tones. A huge part of what made Green sound so good was his fingers and his touch. However, as always, if you want, you could use a clean booster just to make your solo stand out a little if you don't want to mess around with that volume knob, or a vintage style overdrive pedal, that would work really well as well. So anyway, what is Green doing musically? Well, funnily enough, there are a lot of similarities, I think anyway, to B.B. King style. And I imagine that Peter Green was probably a huge B.B. King fan. A lot of the time, he's actually not doing too much. And just like King, he takes the time to appreciate the space between the notes. And ultimately, there's really a lot of magic in that right there. By pausing or holding single notes, he builds a lot of tension. And this makes the notes he does play much more exciting and satisfying when he does play them. If we break down the notes that he is playing, we can see or we can hear that most of the time he is pretty much just sticking to both the major and the minor blues scales and mixing them both together. Depending on the song and overall vibe, Green tends to sometimes play mainly major, sometimes minor. However, occasionally as things get a little bit more experimental, like Black Magic Woman, Oh Well, We may hear things get a bit more modal, a little bit more crazy, especially I think with the use of the Aeolian on the minor pieces. So just like BB King, there is also usually a lot of precision in what he's playing. His notes are very, very clear, and they sustain very well. There is not a huge amount of dirt and mess, although obviously there is overdrive in the sound. But it's, like I say, it's very precise, very clear. And again, usually like BB King, there's some really good vibrato. Anyway, that's probably enough info. I've tried to put a few simple licks together here in this video with the tabs. Hopefully you can learn these, start putting them into your own playing, or use them as a starting point and create your own. Yeah, alright, let's check them out.